Hey everybody! Happy week 7. Got a guest with me here today. What's that on your head? A balloon. That's really impressive. All right. Any advice for them this week?
How to balance a balloon on their head.
Okay. How do they?
Grab it against your hair and then go.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. It's over. Okay, so week 7, it's hard to believe, but we made it. You're almost done. And so today I want to talk about what we're doing for the rest of the trimester. And we are prepping for our IELTS, our individual orals. Those are the internal assessment for IB English that we were doing junior year. So as a reminder, it's a 10-minute analysis of 2 works. Here, I'm going to move over here. One of the works is translated and one of the works is not translated. And so you really have to focus on a global issue. So some sort of topic that you're looking at. It's not a sentence, it's a topic. And then this global issue fits into one of the 5 categories. I wouldn't stress too much about the 5 categories because most everything is going to fit into one of the 5 categories. So you're going to then look at how 2 different works, what 2 different authors are saying about that global issue. And so you're going to start with an overall summary, and you're going to talk about how it's present in the work as a whole. So if I'm talking about the things they carried, right, and I'm talking about a global issue, I'm going to say how it's in the entire book, like where it is throughout. If I decide to do poetry of Hughes, I talk about a global issue and how it's in several different poems by Hughes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my extract, my passage, and that has to be between 20 and 40 lines. And that's when you really dissect and examine the literary features in that little section, which is what we've been working really hard to do. And so when you're done with that, that'll be 10 minutes. So you talk for 10 minutes, and then there's 5 minutes of questions that your instructor, whoever's doing it, will be asking you. So here's a suggested format for you. So you start with an overall introduction of the 2 works and the global issue. And then you start with work 1. And you get to pick the order. Like, it doesn't matter if you do translated first or non-translated, whatever you want to do. So you give your knowledge of the work and show what it says about the global issues and say, like, this is as a whole how we see it. Then you say, give kind of the context for your section that you selected. This is my passage. And then here you'll see that they use really brutal diction. And then you'll give the examples of brutal diction and how that brutal diction is tying back to your claim. Then you do the same thing for work 2. You tell your claim for work 2. What is that particular author saying about the global issue? How does that author show it in the works as a whole? And then in your 20 to 40 lines, what literary devices are getting to that? And then, of course, you have a conclusion. So that's what the whole thing will look like. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to pick 1 translated work and 1 non-translated work. So as a reminder, your translated text, you have Beartown, Antigone, and Either to Live or Fear and Trembling. All right. The other choices, the non-translated works, you have Hughes poetry, you have Jump, you have The Things They Carried, and The Crucible. So you have to pick 1 from each category. And you can do as much preparation as you like, and we're actually going to give you kind of a format for you to prepare. When you actually speak, you're limited to 10 bullet points, and IB actually collects those. We have to submit those bullet points. So that's where we're going with that. IOs are recorded to send in, but it's not your visual, so you don't have to worry about making eye contact. You don't have to worry about, making sure your gestures are in the right place. It doesn't matter. It's just your voice that they hear. So ahead of time, you're going to do all this. The only thing that you won't know is about the 5 minutes of questions. And that part is just there so that we can help you bump up your score. It's not to trick you. It's not to test you. It's just to try and get your grade up as high as possible. So if you said something and maybe you didn't expand on it, we're going to ask you about that so that you have more chance to get more points. So don't think of that as like a scary gotcha kind of thing. That 5 minutes of questions is like we're trying to save your grade and give you whatever you can to help get a better score. So We're planning on doing those, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing right now. We're actually just supposed to be finishing them up right now, but not possible. So we're going to be hopefully working on these fall of next year. But it's going to be really hard to remember things till next year. So this year we want to be as prepared as possible. And so it's absolutely necessary that you finish this summative assessment. It's required to get a passing grade for IB English. And so there's different pieces that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to figure out what 2 works you're going to analyze. You're going to have to figure out that global issue that connects those 2. You'll have to figure out a claim for each of them as well. And then an overall explanation of each work, how it's seen, and then possibly you'll get a chance to select the passage of each work. So when we are deciding all of this, hopefully you guys have really good starts. Like the goal in doing all of the stuff we've done this year is that you have this wealth where you don't have to go back, hopefully, and do too much to finish it off, because you should already have some great ideas. So let's say I know, like, you know, I really want to do Beartown, and I really liked I can't do that. I really liked The Crucible. So I'm going to try and think of a global issue that connects those. So that's one way to do it. Or if you have a global issue that you really want to talk about, and then you think of 2 works that have that global issue. Either of those ways works. You can decide which one works best for you. My guess is most of us are probably going to choose the works first and then try and find some sort of connecting global issue. So then you have your folders, right? And in those folders, you have all sorts of passages that are marked and highlighted for devices. You have information about different global issues, right? You have all those notes that you took and different ideas for, oh, I could talk about this global issue or that, right? You've done that work ahead of time. You did that legwork. So now you're just taking all that information and putting it together. Problem, right? Some of you are thinking, but wait, a lot of my stuff was on paper and it's in my folder and that's at school. Okay, true. Some of you are going to pick things that you have electronic versions of, and that makes your life pretty easy because you just go in that folder, that your IB English folder that you shared, and you have lots in there. But others of you are going to need those paper folders. And if that's you, and if you have the chance to get it, I think you should. So on Friday, Mrs. Black and I are going to be at Park in the parking lot. We thought we were pretty funny. We were like, oh, parking lot. No one else thought that we were as funny as we did, but we were amused. Anyway, so we're going to be at the parking lot from noon to 3. And at that time, you can come through. It might be. I just checked. Oh, wait, it's 1 to 3. 1 to 3. Okay, not noon. 1 to 3. You can come drive by at Park, and Mrs. Block and I will be there with the giant totes that we have, the crates, and we'll just be handing you your folder. It's also a time for you to ask us questions if you have them. Stay in your vehicle, right? And I know some of you aren't going to be able to get there, and if that's the case and you want it mailed to you, you can let me know that, and I'll work on getting it sent. Or we could work on something else if you really need it dropped off or something like that too. But I think it's going to be great for you to have a chance to, you know, if there's something that you're wondering, like, is this an okay global issue? You're welcome to email me and ask me, and I'll be happy to answer all those questions for you. But some of us just like to speak in person. So if that's you, I'll see you at some point from 1 to 3. And I know some of you are new to me. You haven't had me all year, so you might be more comfortable talking to Mrs. Black. And I get that. No hard feelings at all. It's who you know, right? And so Mrs. Black will be there too. So if you want to chat with her, it's totally an option for you as well. Okay, because it's the same thing, the same assignment. So that is where we are. I'll talk more about it in a little bit. All right, so your assignment looks like this, your week 7 summative final part 1. And so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick your 2 works. And we just made a circle one, that way you won't get confused. You have to pick one of these. Now, if you didn't read To Live, don't pick To Live, okay? Pick one that you've read. All right, so then the same thing, you know, those are your choices. So you write that down, and then you write down the author. If you need to look it up on Google, you can do that. Otherwise, check your folders, your Google folders. You probably have your authors listed in there as well. Then you have your global issue. So what global issue do these works have in common? And there's some description of what a global issue is right there. So as a reminder, it is a topic, okay? It's not a statement. It's not a theme. It's a subject, okay? Some of us are still getting really, really specific with our global issues. It has to be vague enough that you can specify two different works and how two different works are looking at that one thing. So it's also not just one of the categories. You can't just put culture. That's not right either, right? It has to be something a little bit more specific. So I actually went through and I looked on the IB website to try and find some examples. Hopefully these will help you. These are straight from IB. And you can see, you know, intercultural interconnection, or question of moral identity in the face of war. They're very broad, okay? But it's not just identity, right? It's moral identity in the face of war. So something to kind of think through. Feel free to email me, like I said, or do the drive-through if you want to talk through that as well. Now, if you want to do the global issue first and then go back and pick your two works, you're welcome to do it that way as well. I just wrote it this way because I thought most people would probably do it this way. And then after you write down your global issue and your brief explanation about why it's important, you're going to read it out loud and just time it. I want to, so you know, it should be about 20 to 30 seconds. It should not be over that. So if you do it and it's a minute and a half, you need to go back in and cut it. You only have 10 minutes to do this, and you guys are going to be able to just like speak for so long. So we really want to make sure that we're kind of cutting and making sure that we're trimming the fat where we can. So it should be about 30 seconds. Cut it if you need to. Then the next section that you're going to do is you're going to work on claims. So for one of the works you selected, you're going to pick a claim. Like pick which one of the works you want to do. So let's say I'm choosing Beartown and I have my global issue. So what is Bachman saying about that global issue? I put that in here, and you can see some examples. So in Golding's Lord of the Flies, humans' impulse towards savagery in the absence of civilization is clear. So my global issue is restraint of society and the individual. In my global issue for To Kill a Mockingbird, the global issue was racism's impact on legal justice. So then my claim is Harper Lee uses To Kill a Mockingbird to show that justice and racism cannot coexist. Okay, so that's my claim. And then underneath that, I'm going to put summary of major events in the novel to show a deeper understanding of the author's purpose. You're going to read it out loud. Should take you about 15 to 30 seconds max. Like that 30 seconds would be pushing it, right? And then you're going to write your time. And then you're going to do the same thing for the other work. So whatever I circled up here, those are the two things that I'm coming up with at the bottom, right? So the rest of the things, like if I don't pick Antigone, I'm not going to talk about Antigone at all during these, okay? Antigone is tabled. Maybe I want to use it next year, maybe not, but I let it go for now, for the rest of the school year. You don't have to think about anything but the two texts that you decided on for this form. All right, so then you're going to do the same thing where you figure out your claim, you summarize it, give a little overview, and read it out loud. And then, of course, you have your day 5, which is your catch-up day. You can independent reading if you want some extension. If you want to come pick up your folder, you can come through the drive-through, the parking lot activity if you want to come on Friday from 1 to 3. So that is what this week looks like. I know you guys can do it. I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with, and I am here to help. So let me know if you prefer, you know, if you want to send me a message, or if you want to set up a Zoom, if you want whatever it is, you let me know, okay? If you would prefer a phone call, I can totally make any of that happen. So just let me know what it is you need. All right, you've got this. You can do it. Think of things you've done, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's not cheating to pick something you've done. It's not. It's recommended you pick something you've done. That's why we did that stuff before, so you have some ideas, okay? So don't think like, oh my goodness, I already wrote on this. I can't write on it again. No, you can. That's why you did it, all right? It'll make your life so much easier if you already know what you're talking about. That's not to say that you can't pick something new, because you could, but don't feel like it's required or even recommended, okay? All right. Well, I hope you're doing well, and hopefully I'll see some of you on Friday, but I'm sure I'll be hearing from some of you before then. Let me know what questions you have. Happy to answer them as always. Have fun, stay safe, be happy, make smart choices. Bye, all.